Shalom. Shabbat. Shalom. Shabbat. Shalom. Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom.
You're glowing, Michelle. You're basked in light here. It's a beautiful thing. I love the way the light comes in. Sorry if it's blinding at the same time. It is lovely to have you all here with us this evening as we celebrate so many things actually right now. We are celebrating Shabbat. We are also in the middle of the holiday of Shavuot. So we are celebrating the holiday of Shavuot. And we are celebrating as Shane is getting ready to become bar mitzvah tomorrow. So there is a lot to celebrate this evening. So I hope that you can feel the joy, create the joy, fill the room with it as we, kind of celebrate each of those things in their own way and mush it all together and see what comes out, because it's a whole lot of joy that we have going on tonight. So we're going to get started on page 5 with Shalom Aleichem, and we sing this blessing every Friday night. Some folks have a tradition of singing this around their Shabbat tables as they're having a Shabbat meal, and we'll be singing it here tonight. And you'll see in the prayer that as we move through each section, we are welcoming in different angels of Shabbat, and we are praying that they come in peace, that while they are here, they bring blessings, and that hopefully we can offer blessings to them as well, and that when the time comes to say farewell, that they go in peace until the next time they return. And so you are all the angels this evening kind of coming into our space and getting a chance to celebrate with one another. So I hope that your Shabbat is filled with blessing as we get to spend time together both tonight and tomorrow night. So Shane is going to lead us on page 5. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech, Malachei Halachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Boachem Leshalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech, Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Baruch Hu Nile Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech, Malachei Halachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Tzidchem Leshalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech, Malachei Halachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Thank you, Shane.
Okay.
So each week as we move into Shabbat, it provides us with an opportunity to take a little moment of pause as we move through our days. Since we can very easily find ourselves just moving from one day to the next, not really always remembering which day it is when we open our eyes, and kind of forgetting to pause to appreciate all of the good things in our lives, to express gratitude, and to notice all of the joyful moments. Maybe to also notice the moments that are difficult and see what we can learn from them and then put them aside. But when we have Shabbat every week, it provides us with a little bit of that moment of pause. And so that's one of the beautiful gifts of being able to come together in this way, to sit here, even if it's just for this hour, or even if it's just for a moment, if you light candles at home, or if you say a blessing over challah, or if you just, when you get home from work or from school, just take a moment to breathe before you move into the busyness of your weekend. So it's a gift that we have in our tradition. So as we move into Shabbat tonight, I want to ask all of you to think back on this week that has just passed And to even just kind of spend a moment in your mind's eye, maybe just kind of looking at each day from Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, on all the way up till today. And notice what all of those moments were that were filled with joy, that brought so much goodness or smiles to your face or to your heart. Moments that you are grateful for friends or family or just good things that happen in the world. And if there's anything that you are thinking about that you wish to share aloud, bless you, with the rest of us, being able to sometimes say these things out loud, bless you. That's okay. Can sometimes remind us also of something that might be exciting or that we might feel grateful for in our lives, or then we can just kind of share your joy with you. Anyone want to share anything from this week? No? No? Ken or Benjamin?
We celebrated my dog's 10th birthday.
Aww. Yom Yom Haledet to Harisa. How'd you celebrate?
We put whipped cream in a cup for her.
I bet she enjoyed that.
And then we sent her to the beach.
So that's a good 10th birthday.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're celebrating a 7-month-old grandson, and the first time my daughter's been away from him.
Oh my
We're
goodness.
happy to be here as a family tonight, sharing with the Bobo. Very happy to be here.
That is beautiful. Mazel tov. How are you feeling so far? So far, so good?
She's banging it in.
It's like so exciting and hard at the same time. I know.
Turned 5 this week.
Oh my goodness.
We had vanilla ice cream.
I'm sensing a theme. Yeah.
My wife and I are celebrating the 12th anniversary of our B'nai Mitzvah adult thing.
Oh my goodness. You're becoming adult bat mitzvah. You can do that at 12. That's great.
13
That's so exciting.
Accompanied pizza class.
Yeah. That's a big step.
Yeah.
So what was your favorite part about becoming adult bat mitzvah?
Just the whole thing.
The whole- yeah.
It was,
She has her own taliyah, that's why.
Yeah.
And my little daughter Melissa presented me with the tallit.
Oh my gosh, that's so special. It's not how that usually goes, and that's so special when it can go that way. That's amazing. I know when our students in our 6th grade were a part of an intergenerational program with some of our older members, and for all of them, they talk about their experience growing up and how different it was than what we do here. And it was interesting. We had a session a few weeks ago. I think it was with the 7th grader. No, it was with the 6th graders. And we were talking about, as they're starting to now get ready for bar and bat mitzvah. They're at the end of 6th grade. They'll be doing this next year. And we said, they take a step forward if becoming a bar mitzvah is different than becoming a bat mitzvah in your synagogue. And none of the kids moved up, but for the parents, when they were growing up, all of them stepped forward, and so the kids didn't quite, they didn't quite realize how far we've come from where we once were.
Yeah, because way back when, especially in New York,
Yeah.
girls did not go to Hebrew school.
Yeah, I mean, it's only, we celebrated here when it was the 100th anniversary of the first bat mitzvah last year.
Yeah, it was
March of last year, but even though that was the very first one of the things that we talked about is that it took a really long time to actually get off the ground and become a tradition. So, just because you're the first doesn't mean that the second one is like waiting in the wings. And it took decades, and and it is. I think we can appreciate even more the gift that we have here when we realize how it has evolved over time.
When I went to Hebrew school, girls got bat mitzvah on Friday.
Yeah.
And boys went on Saturday.
Yeah.
And we had a very big synagogue, a very busy schedule on Saturday. I had a triple bar mitzvah.
Oh my goodness.
I only have a third of my October, but don't tell me.
In October, we have a triple benot mitzvah.
That's true. They're sisters. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when I was growing up too, the synagogue where I went to Hebrew school, it was the same way. And girls could do something Friday night before Shabbat or Friday night before Shabbat or Saturday night after Shabbat, but not on Shabbat. I became bat mitzvah somewhere else. But it was, and there's still lots of synagogues like that out there today. So different strokes for different folks, and, times are changing. Sometimes, less so in some places than others, but as, one of my friends and colleagues who was just here a couple weeks ago, we both say that there's also something really beautiful about getting to do things in different ways in different places. And so in some communities, Judaism has evolved quite a bit, and we can, as folks who stand here in those communities, be grateful for all of the ways in which that is so. And we can also look around and see that there's other folks who are holding on to traditions in other ways, and how beautiful to see what those traditions look like as well. So I think that we can all hopefully look at one another and appreciate what we see without judgment, which isn't always the case. But I think that's a good intention, to be able to appreciate the diversity of Jewish expression. Well, I invite you to continue to think about these questions of all that which you are grateful for from your week and all that brings you joy. And just, feel that and experience that and allow that to, continue to bring joy into Shabbat as we move in together. So we will turn to page 23, and I'm going to invite Shane to come on back up to help lead us in Lecha Dodi.
Do that again and do it louder so that everybody can actually hear you, not just your fidget.
Lecha dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibor echad, Hishmi'anu el hamiuchad, Adonai echad, U'shemo echad, L'shem u'tiferet l'tila. Lecha dodi lecha dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nilcha, Ki him lekor habracha, Me'rosh mikenem nisucha, Sov ma'aseh b'machshava tefila. Lecha dodi lecha dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela.
We turn to page 25.
Yamin u'smol tifrotzi, Yet Adonai taritzi, Ayad ish ben partzi, V'nishmecha v'nagila. Lecha
dodi
lecha dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela.
We rise and face the door as we symbolically welcome our Sabbath Queen.
Bo'ir v'shalom ateret ba'ala, Gam b'simcha u'b'toch ola, Toch emunei am segula, Bo'ichala, Bo'ichala. Lecha
dodi
lecha dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela.
You may be seated. We turn to page 27 for the Psalm for Shabbat.
Mizmor shir liyom haShabbat, tov lahados l'Adonai, l'zmer simcha yom
We pick up together on page 28 at the red arrow.
Tzadikatama yifrach ke'erez balvanon is yeshitulim b'beis Adonai b'chatzros Eloheinu yafrichu od yenuvon b'seba Deshenim merananim iyu lehagid Yashar Adonai Tzuri Tzuri Velo Avlatabo.
We turn ahead now to page 39, and as we come to this page, we are kind of officially moving into our evening service. All the rest of it was meant to help us to just settle into this space and really arrive from wherever it is from which we came. And with the words of Baruch Hu, we come together as a community. And I invite you to rise if you're comfortable and able to do so.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam
You
Va'ed.
may be seated.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed. Yom maybe Laila Mav Yom Laila Adonai Oshamo El Chai V'Kayam Tamidim L'Chalenu Le'olam Va'ed Baruch Adonai Hamari V'Ravim.
Amen. We turn to the top of page 40 as we get ready to move into the words of Shema. We begin with Ahavat Olam, with timeless love. You have loved your people, the house of Israel.
Ahavat Olam Beis Yisrael Amchavta Torah u'mitzvot Chukim u'mishpatim Otanu limadeta Al Kein Adonai Eloheinu B'shofeinu uvkumeinu Nasiach bechukecha V'nizmach b'divrei Toratecha Uv'mitzvotecha Li'olam va'ed Ki hem chayenu v'yorech yameinu V'yorech yameinu Uvahem neye yomam v'layla Yomam v'layla V'yavetcha Al tasir b'menu li'olamim Baruch atah Adonai Ohev amo Yisrael.
We turn to page 41 for Shema, and I'm going to invite Madison to come on up to help Shane in leading the first line of the Shema. And then Shane, oh, no, not that.
That's tomorrow.
That's tomorrow, not today.
Maddie, come
And
over here
then
so
we'll go on to the Viahafta. We're just so, see, because Shavuot is the celebration of Torah.
just made your sister
So we're going to try not to hurt ourselves. And we're very excited to celebrate with the Torah, but we wait till tomorrow to take that out.
Okay, here we go. Ready?
Shema Yisrael,
Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. V'ahavta
Et Adonai Elohecha
b'chol v'chacha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol yodecha v'hayu ha'dvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levanecha v'shinatam levanecha v'dibartam bam b'shivtecha b'beitecha u'b'lechtecha b'derech u'b'shoftecha u'kumecha u'kshartam liot al yadecha v'hayu l'totafot b'neinecha u'chtartam al mezuzot beitecha u'v'isharecha.
We continue silently on page 42.
Me too.
Thanks, guys.
Adonai Elohechem emet.
We turn to page 44 for the words of Michamocha.
ומלכותו ברצון קיבלו עליה משה ומרים בני ישראל חנשיר בשמחה רבה ויאמרו כולם מי כמוך באלים אדוני מי כמוך נהדר בקודש נורא דהילו דוסף אלה מלכותך רובנך בוקעים לפני משה זלים ויאמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד ונאמר כי ודע אדוני את יעקב וגולם יחזק ממנו ברוך אדוני גא ישראל.
We turn to page 45 for Hashkivenu, which is our evening prayer for peace and protection. And in a moment, we will sing together 3 lines up from the bottom the words Ufros Aleinu Sukat Shlomecha, which implores God to spread over us God's canopy of peace, and over us, and over Israel, and over the entire world. And it's a beautiful image of spreading over this canopy of peace and protection, if only it were that simple, and we can just kind of put a little blanket over our loved ones and just hope that everything goes right for them and no harm would come their way. But for our rabbis, every night was a bit of a scary time, and so this has been a part of our liturgy for quite some time, and is something that we say every single night, not just on Shabbat, because we know that sometimes life can be a lot and a little overwhelming and a little scary, and dark can be scary as well. And so we pray every night that we can sleep peacefully. Sometimes that comes easy to folks, and sometimes it doesn't. And that we can awaken to a new day, to life, and that we can get to have another day in front of us. And that as we then move along our day, that this canopy of peace will kind of help us to protect us until we come back again to sleep peacefully once again. But as we say these words, I invite you to think about those who you know, loved ones in your lives, or parts of the world that might be far away, who might be in need of a little extra peace and protection in this moment. Those who are going through whatever it might be, war, famine, drought. There's lots of things happening in our world. And I also invite you to, even as we pray for just kind of good things to come to those who need, to also recognize the ways in which sometimes we can be a part of bringing those good things in the world. And that we don't need to just rely and sit and pray for that to somehow magically happen around us, but that as we wake up to this new day, that we can also find ways, hopefully, to be a part of bringing that peace, whatever it might be. We might not all solve, the biggest problems of the world on our own tomorrow, but hopefully we can make small decisions and choices that can make a difference to bring a little bit more peace into our world.
Ufros aleinu sukat, sukat, shalomecha, ufros aleinu sukat, sukat, shalomecha. Baruch atah Adonai, haborei sukat shalom aleinu v'al kol mo Yisrael, Yerushalayim.
Amen. We turn to page 46, and Shane is coming back up to help lead us in Vishamru.
Okay. Vishamru
B'nai
Yisrael
et
ha-Shabbat Lasot et ha-Shabbat L'dor Tamarit Olam
Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael oti le'olam,
Oti le'olam Oti le'olam
Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat
לעשות את השבת
לדורותם ברית עולם.
כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני, את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
Do you want to just do the Vayadaber line and then you can go into it?
וידבר משה אל מועדי אדוני אל בני ישראל.
יקדש ויקדש שמי רבה,
אמן.
יאמר דברי קירותי, ויחמלותי,
בחייכם וביומכם ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בגלה בגלה ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך, ויעלם ליעלמי עמיה יתברך.
יתברך ונשתבח פער ויתרומם ונתנשא, ויתעבר ויתעלה ויתעלה, שמי קדושה
בריחו
לילה מנחו ברכתה ושירתה,
תושבחתה ונחמתה, תמירן מעלמה.
ואמרו
Amen.
okay.
We move now to our evening Amidah, which is recited silently. And because today is not only Shabbat, but it is also Yom Tov, it is also Shavuot, we will turn all the way toward the back to page 306 for our evening Amidah. And I will invite you to move through at your own pace in a moment from page 306 all the way through to page 314. So it can be a little confusing because you'll see there's parts that say they're for different holidays. But we are right now at the evening service, and the things that you should add are the things that say for Shavuot or for Shabbat. And this is also a really lovely time to just take some quiet moments for yourself in prayer as well, if you'd prefer to do that instead. So I'm going to invite everyone to rise to have a few moments for your own silent reflection, and we'll come back together with a prayer for peace.
Say shalom b'ramav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, v'al kol Yisrael. V'imru, amen. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, v'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen.
We remain standing as we turn to page 53 for the symbolic repetition of our Amidah.
Vayechulu hashamayim v'haaretz v'chol tzivam. Vayechal Elohim bayom hashvi'i melachto asher asa. Vayishbot bayom hashvi'i mikol melachto asher asa. Vayevarech Elohim et yom hashvi'i vayekadesh oto. Kivo Shabbat mikol melachto asher bara Elohim la'asot. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avoteinu v'Emoteinu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Ha'yibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Konei Shamayim va'aretz. Magen Avot bidvaro, Mechaye mitim b'mamaro. Ha'el hakadosh ha'en kamohu, Hameniach li'amo b'yom Shabbat kodsho. Tivam ratza lehaniach lahem, Tivam ratza lehaniach lahem. Lefanav na'avod be'yira ufachat, v'nodeh lishmo b'chol yom tamid, me'od habrachot. El ha'hodaot adon ha'shalom, Megadesh ha'shabbat u'mevarech shvi'i, u'meniach b'kedusha li'amidu shnei oneg. Zecher l'maaseh b'reishit. Page 54. Eloheinu v'Elohei Avoteinu v'Emoteinu ritzei v'imnuchatenu kadeshenu b'mitzvotecha v'ten chalkeinu b'toratecha savenu mituvecha v'samchenu b'shuatecha v'taher libeinu li'avdecha be'emet v'ha'ilenu Adonai Eloheinu b'ahava uvratzon Shabbat kodshecha v'yanuchu v'Yisrael mekadesh shemecha. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh hashabbat. Yegel avigel ashmei rabba b'yamani rakutei b'mechmachutei b'chaychodu b'yemechodu b'chaytcho b'Yisrael b'gal lazma gurivim ru. Amen. Yeheshmei rabba mivarach li'olam li'amei almaya yitbarach. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ותורה מן הסייב ותדע ותלה ותלש מן רשע בריחו לעילא מכל בחטא ושורת שתוש בחטא ונחמת אדם ירם מימיו ויאמרו אמן תקבל צלות הונו תכון תכל ישראל קודם הונו וישמעי ויאמרו אמן יהי שלום רב אמן שמיה וחיים עלינו וכל ישראל ויאמרו אמן עשה שלום רב ויעשה שלום ולבוא כל ישראל קודש ודבר ויאמרו
Amen. You may be seated. So one of the things that we celebrate on Shavuot, and there's a few different layers to this and really every holiday, but one of the things, the big thing I'd say that we really celebrate these days on Shavuot is the receiving of Torah at Mount Sinai. What? Cheesecake. It's cheesecake. We celebrate cheesecake in all its glory. Parve cheesecake, regular cheesecake, or do we not celebrate parve cheesecake? I don't know. It depends if you're lactose intolerant. It depends if you're lactose intolerant. The other thing we celebrate is Torah and the receiving of Torah at Mount Sinai. This morning we read from Torah the moment where the Israelites are gathered around and there's all of these strange things happening and there's thunder and there's lightning and there's smoke and it's very scary. And then, we hear these 10 commandments, and that's what we read this morning. So on the one hand, we learned that every single Jewish soul, past, present, and future, were somehow magically all standing there at the same time, ready to receive the Torah. So those things that we read this morning, all of us were there. Maybe you remember me, I don't know. Because all of us were standing there together. But we also learn that a piece of Torah, which is known as the oral Torah, it's not just that we learned it then and so we're good and we're done, but that it was also passed down from one generation to the next. So the same way that we have these Torah scrolls that have been in here for a very long time, and the scroll that's out there was written a very long time ago and continues to get passed down, there's oral Torah and stories that were sort of passed along with that. So we learn in the Talmud one version of how this oral Torah was passed on. Because it can feel a little bit like Whisper Down the Lane. But I want to read to you the way that it describes it in this particular piece from Eruvin 54b. And I want you to pay attention as I read this. It's just a couple of sentences. To how many times Aaron, who's Moses' brother, Aaron was the high priest, so he had a very big job to kind of take care of all the people. Listen to how many times Aaron would have heard the oral Torah from Moses in this description. Okay? There'll be a test at the end. So the text says, how was the oral law first taught? It has to come from somewhere. Moses learned it directly from God. Aaron entered and sat before Moses, and Moses taught him his lesson as he had learned it from God. Okay. Aaron then moved aside and sat to the left of Moses. Aaron's sons entered, and Moses taught them their lesson while Aaron listened. Then Aaron's sons moved aside. Eleazar sat to the right of Moses, and Itamar sat to the left of Aaron. The elders entered, and Moses taught them this lesson. Then the elders moved aside. And then the entire nation entered, and Moses taught them all their lesson. Okay. How many times has Aaron now heard the Torah? 4. Okay, good. So sometimes when we read of the passing along of Torah in Pirkei Avot, the way it is talked about is like more like Whisper Down the Lane. Like, God gave it to Moses gave it to Aaron, and so on and so on. And it's just like I'm passing it, from one person to the next. Like if we were to play hot potato around the room, like we're just passing it from one person to the next. But here it's a little bit different. Here, Aaron needed to hear this story, or got to hear the story, got to hear this, whatever this oral Torah is, 4 times. So Aaron heard it 4 times. His sons heard it at least 3 times. The elders heard it at least twice. And the entire nation heard it at least once. But presumably, this would kind of go on from there, right? So everyone else maybe would have a chance to learn it more. This process of moving aside when a new person or group enters and resharing the oral Torah just continues on today. And so once a new person learned the Torah, then they could eventually maybe after the 4th time, become the teacher so that they can then be part of that process continuing. And so I want to ask you, why so much repetition? What is to be gained from hearing it all of these times? Could feel redundant. Okay, good. So especially think about trying to learn something from memory. If you've ever needed to memorize a poem for school or a Torah reading for your bar mitzvah. If you only did it once, it might be hard. Were you going to say something? No.
Yeah, I mean,
You had a, I'm going to say something face.
I'm so glad that I have that face. No, but the other piece of this is the moving to the left. So when you're experiencing something front and center, like when you go to hear a concert and you're sitting in the middle, you get a completely different vantage of when you go and sit on a side or in a balcony or in a different place. You hear everything, or if you see a show, you're seeing it from a completely different vantage point, and it reveals different things to you with each repetition. So it's not just hearing the same thing over and over and over again.
Right.
You're experiencing it from different ways and different vantage points, and you're seeing how other people in the room are also experiencing it and how they're learning from it, and that in turn also reflects on your continual growth and understanding what you're experiencing, what you're hearing, what you're learning.
Yeah, absolutely. There's like new facets kind of always to be discovered. I can tell you that for someone who did not go to Taylor Swift, I had that experience looking at all your Facebook pictures because it was like, oh, this person sat over here and this is what it looked like, and this person sat over there and that's what it looked like. And yeah, so I saw your videos, I saw your pictures, and so I feel like I got all those different vantage points of going to Taylor Swift from the comfort of my home. Absolutely. Exactly. I will also add to that it's interesting that there's a moving because, sometimes, still today, unfortunately, but sometimes we also have classrooms where teachers feel the need to have students sit in one place in a particular way for over and over again all day long, okay? And most of us also know that that's not maybe like the best way for all students to learn, and there's a lot to be gained from changing it up a little bit in different ways. But I also think about for the learner that, right, so I'm hearing it once, but now I need to kind of like get up and move around, and now I can sit down, and maybe now I can hear it again, and so maybe I'm also ready to receive it in a different way, in that way as well. Anyone else? Does anyone think it's like redundant and unnecessary? That would be okay too. Okay. Another question. Can you think of something that you have learned, that you've needed to learn more than once? Torah portion, yeah, I see that. I saw that. Yeah, right, because even something like that, you want to go over it, right, more than once to make sure that it's like really where you want to be, you still have the same ideas, it's... Yeah. Yeah, oh, me too. And especially for, because you have to remember all of the different parts of it. And so same is true with oral Torah. Like, how easy it would be if it was just like one thing. Like, and in some ways you could say, it's like, be kind to each other. Maybe that's really all that you need to know about Torah. So that would be one thing, except that we do have all these other rules too. And so it's kind of a lot to remember. And so maybe today you remember this one, and the next time you hear it, you like kind of remember the next one. And so hopefully over time you can build so that you can get to your final destination, wherever that may be. You're not in a hurry. Oh, that's great. Well, I'll also say that it can be a little risky if you only did it once then, because maybe you'd remember it all wrong, right? And if it's then your job to teach it to the next group of people coming in at some point, even more so, the importance of trying to take it all in and remember it. So Rabbi Eliezer points out that if this was important for Aaron, the high priest, like one of the most important people that we have in Torah, Moses was kind of like a prophet. Aaron was still a regular guy, but he kind of had a really important job, and so if even he needed to hear this 4 times in order to be able to remember it, how much more so should the rest of us, lowly people, need to kind of hear this over and over again in order to really be able to take it in all of its facets, in all of its layers, to be able to kind of imbibe it ourselves, and then, hopefully to be able to pass it along and teach it to others. Every year we come back year after year after year to these same stories in Torah. And some things we even get to read more than once throughout the year, because maybe we read them at special times, like on the beginning of a new month or on a holiday. So we're not just reading these stories once, we're reading them several times throughout the year. And sometimes you could kind of come back to this again and say, oh, this again. The same, we had a portion of Torah that we read this morning, we're also going to read it tomorrow morning. And it's like, what is there to gain of doing it again for the second time? It turns out possibly a whole lot. That you never know what you're going to find out, I think, about the Torah and about yourselves. And even, once the student becomes the teacher could still be learning as well. And often the student has a lot to share to the teacher about a completely different way that we've never thought about this before. And it's one of the things that I love about sitting with B'nai Mitzvah students when we're talking about, their Torah portions and their reflections on Torah. Because the number of times that students have said something to me and I thought, I have never thought about it that way, is astounding. And yet, I have had several circles around the sun where I've encountered these stories, and yet there's always something new to learn. So as we celebrate Torah this Shavuot, I hope that however we encounter it, however frequently and in whichever way, I hope that you'll allow yourselves to take it in and then maybe find another place in the room and take it in again, and allow yourselves to always be open to what might be new in there. Because with all of these stories, it is never done. It is never a one and done. There is always more to learn, both from the written Torah that we have in our scroll and from all of the other pieces of Jewish tradition, which were the oral Torah, a lot of which had since been written down, but all of it which continues to be debated and commented on, and from one generation to the next, that's kind of where the Torah continues to be created. So hopefully we can continue to be a part of that in lots of different ways. All right. We're going to head back to our Siddur now on page 55, and Shane is ready to help lead us in Kiddush. Kiddush cup.
Take the Kiddush cup.
Carefully carry it with you. Thankfully you're wearing a dark suit. Also
Why are you
good.
putting it down? Hold it. Hold it like this.
Sorry.
There we go.
Should really switch to white grape juice.
Baruch. Wait, no. Okay. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pari hagafen.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kosho b'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit ki hu yom techila lamikra'e kodesh zecher litziat mitzrayim Kivanu v'acharta v'yotanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodecha v'yahava uvratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh ha'shabbat. Amen.
Hi.
It's apple juice. Ooh.
That's grape juice.
It is
Close
not
enough,
wine.
close
If it were apple juice, we'd have made the wrong
The wrong
bracha.
blessing. Although you said it tastes different. You can. I mean,
Oh wow, he took me. What's up with these kids taking me seriously when I say Chuck?
it is true that once your Kiddush cup is blessed, you are supposed to finish it. That doesn't have to all be at the same time. It could be like over the course of the evening.
Now go put it back on the table.
But
Okay.
then once it's sanctified, it needs to be drunk.
Good job.
That was grape juice. We continue on page 56. I invite you to rise for Aleinu.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשה כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא, יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
You may be seated. We turn to page 58 for Mourner's Kaddish. And this week in our community, we observe the yard sites of Max Abrams, Shirley Abrams, Howard Belkoff, Marcy Breslow, Kenneth Halal, Benjamin Halfin, Ann Charov, Louis Kramer, Miriam Finkelstein, Aaron Fulmer, Daniel Grob, Yale Green, David Greenberg, Kitty Handel, Leona Katz, Nathan Kopu, Fred Kugler, Bernard Leschner, Robert Lynn, Rochelle Mason, Letty Miller, Rose Nadler, Louis Redder, Joseph Reingold, Alan Sack, Alfred Safran, Molly Satinsky, Eddie Searman, Harold Shore, Joseph Shore, Mary Silverts, Stephen Slutsky, Louis Vizak, Stephen Werner, and David Benish. I invite those who are in mourning or observing a yard site to please rise, along with all those whom it might be your custom to rise in support of the mourners or for those who have no one to say Kaddish for them. Yitzgadal v'yitzkadash shemei rabbah v'yalma divrach kirutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayechon uvyomechon uvchaye dechol beit Yisrael v'agala uvizman kari v'imru amen. Yehi shmei rabbah mevarach leolam alameo maya. Yitvarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal shemei zekudashah brichu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran v'yalma v'imru amen. Yehi shlomo rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. May the one who creates peace on high bring peace to us, to all Israel, and to all who dwell on earth. And we say together, Amen.
Amen.
May the memories of our loved ones forever be a blessing. So we are moving toward the conclusion of our service on page 75. And we will be back here tomorrow morning for our Shavuot and Shabbat service with Yisker in the morning at 9:30. And then we'll be back here tomorrow night for the bar mitzvah of Shane at 4:45. So feel free to join us for one, join us for all. You are welcome to come. And there is still a lot more going on at BTBJ. Religious school is over, but the calendar marches on with lots of adult learning opportunities and our ECC graduation. I can't believe they're graduating on Friday, June 2nd. And feel free to join us if you are in the area at any point. We would love to have you. So we are going to close this evening with a blessing for one another. So it is a tradition for parents to bless children on Friday night. And, whether you use our traditional words or just take a moment to offer some sweet blessings to your loved ones, it is a beautiful tradition. So you can follow their lead and put your arms around your loved ones if you'd like. And we offer this blessing to you and to one another. You could also hold your loved ones in your mind's eye and in your heart and send it to them even if they are not in the room at the moment. May God bless you and protect you. May God's face give light to you and show you favor. May God's face be lifted towards you and bestow upon you peace. Amen.
Amen.
Maybe we'll end with a little motzi, and then we can head on out for some snacks in the lobby. Do you want to come help, Shane?
Yes.
Okay. Or Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
Take a piece.
And then share it with other people. Shabbat shalom, everyone. Go bring it down to your family. Yeah, take the, yeah, there you go. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbos.